a thought came to mind. People really find it easy to latch onto stereotypes, putting things in boxes so that you can understand it better. If there's going to be a non-conformity or embraced by a certain character, and I'm talking specifically about roles in productions and things like that, do you think it's necessary to have it accentuated by being surrounded with other stereotypes, or should we break that?
It's tricky. I mean, even going back to what Louise said, where she speaks of, what does an older, white, differently abled body look like, right? And then she listed all the ways that people look. I thought to myself, she is fantastic. She is beautiful. Looks damn good for 52, I must say. And even with Alecia saying that, this idea of you must be sexy plus, this plus. That plus, is it implying that stereotypes? Does that stereotype exist in the plus, the and? Whose gaze set those stereotypes to exist, number one, let alone coexist with each other? The stereotypical Black woman thing, it's created for a certain kind of understanding, and it may work in particular forms, whether it's satire or whatever it may be. For it to be the first thing that you go for, that it's a plus size character, abled character, it's Black character, it's a white character, then I think we might have a bit of a problem. That's the first instinct that people are going to go, I'm going to write a story about a Black woman. Why can't you just write a story about a woman? And then later you figure out, okay, you know what? She's this, she's that, but she's more than that. Easier said than done, because we all have our inherent biases. Even me as a Black female writer, I was writing a white female character recently, and I was going through it. I was like, am I making it problematic because I don't know anything else, or what's happening? No, man, she's more than this. She's more interesting than that. I'm aware that everybody has their inherent biases, but we must look at that plus, that this plus, this and.
I find it interesting that you get to be placed in a position where you need to almost like embrace another identity as your own. Playwriters get to teach the world. They're in the best position to teach the world about nonconformity.
So much to say. What I find so interesting was also what Tiisetso said earlier about the world's view about Africans. People are always feeling the need to label us. For me, I shouldn't speak away a certain way because you colored. So whenever you come into certain circles, there's that assumption of "Awe my bro," and I'm like, "Good afternoon." I think when we are looking to address this, it's basically what we are doing right now. It's looking at the South. There's no way of addressing this from them, they. This has to start with individuals and platforms like this, where we can come out as 4 women with such beautiful stories. One thing that I've been very passionate about, especially on my Instagram, is people coming out and telling their story. Because when we know better, we do better. So when Louise tells her story of all of the things she mentioned, and Tiisetso, and Kirsty and Alecia, when younger artists look at this, they go like, I can now approach my career differently. If we're looking at young writers now, I never thought about the Black woman always wailing, and you made me think of so many images. So we're raising awareness.
I spoke about this in the last episode, but we have quite a lot of privileges as artists. And my concern is, how do we bridge that gap between artists and people that think a little bit more box? Here, I'm probably posing a little bit of a stereotype, but I do think as artists we think more freely, perform more freely, we conduct ourselves a little bit more freely because we are in a space where we can just be ourselves more than others. I'm not saying that we can in our entirety be ourselves, as Alecia said about her body, as Tiisetso said about Black identity, as Louise said about queer and disabled identity. If we're going to make these changes, how does the freer person communicate to the less freer person?
I think we should be wary about identifying artists as free thinkers, because many of us are not, and many of us are actually busy producing stereotypes and upholding stereotypes and benefiting from stereotypes. I keep asking questions. I'm so concerned with whether I'm doing a good job reading all the theories, energy and applying it and being a good ally and a friend, and I'll never be finished, and so I'm not free. This romanticizing of the artist must stop. We are normal people who have normal grievances, who have normal suffering. In the course that I'm teaching on magic, and one of the students said, my father came from a line of healers, but my father works in a funeral home and he prepares the dead bodies. But also when people are dying, they say, can he come to them? Because then they feel that they're okay to die. I think we need to go back to the time where the first artists were actually involved in healing work. We danced around a fire, we chanted, to connect with everything. Kind of break down this question a little bit and to say we're not different. There's an undertaker out there who's busy whispering people into their death, but is that not an art? Just because they're not sticking themselves on the stage, and are they not performing art? I'm concerned sometimes about saying even I'm an artist, because then must I now behave in a certain way? Am I not allowed to be? So what is an artist? But I need to question myself every day. I'm not going to have an answer. So I'm not free. Coming back to what you were saying, I don't think I'm free.
I like that.
I love what Louise just said. I agree with it wholeheartedly. Even as an artist, you think, okay, I'm an artist now, so I am a free thinker. I am it. It's part of my job description, which I think is wholly untrue. I've seen it manifest in such dangerous ways of some sort of a superiority complex sometimes. It's like, I'm an artist, so I'm a free thinker, I'm an open thinker, not giving other people the opportunity to exercise their freedom, right? Freedom is to be able to think for yourself and exercise what you think that you want to do. Someone else cannot tell you that you're not an open thinker, you're not a free thinker, you know what I mean? My for example, is one of the most open-minded, free-minded. Oh, he's like amazing, right? My dad's a medical doctor. He works with science and all sorts of things. And I'm his artist daughter. And sometimes we have conversations and I'm like, damn, I didn't really think about that. It's a matter of how you think. So I do think, and I agree with Louise, I think it's very dangerous to romanticize this idea of the artist being this otherworldly, free-thinking kind of person. I think you are a human being. You're just very talented in a very particular skill.
And I think there again, the artist being weird, being free, that's another stereotype on its own. You know, everybody in my family is intellectuals. And I say intellectuals because just because I'm an artist doesn't mean I'm not an intellectual, you know, but I come from a long line of accountants and business people, and I'm very strongly business. Kirsten and I met because I was production managing for the theater company. I didn't meet Kirsten as a creative. I grew up with my dad not wanting me to be an artist because of the perception that you're free, you're liberal, you're out of the box. Not necessarily. My brain works with maximum stimulation. So I can never just be an actor or just be a workshop facilitator. My mentor encouraged me. She said, you never have to specialize. I know most institutions almost forces you to specialize because you need to choose where you want to go. That is when I started calling myself a creative practitioner instead of an artist. Like, people will tell me, like, you don't look like an artist. And I'll be like, what does an artist look like?
Exactly.
You know, and they've got this hippie image in their mind, and I'm like, what?
I don't get it.
I've always felt like I needed to look a certain way to be able to show you that I'm an artist, so that I will be accepted onto the tabloids or whatever it is that's going to publicize my music. I have to look loose in some way, for lack of a better word. As soon as you start embracing your version of who you are, then you can start to advocate it very strongly within whatever the hell your field is. So to embracing nonconformity and the self. That was a great chat. Before we conclude, we need to say our affirmations. I will not conform or compromise, and that's a fact.
I'm enough, and that's a fact.
I am the future, that's a fact.
I am learning about myself, and that's a fact.
I hope you've unraveled paths that you didn't think you were going to unravel, and I hope it's made you think, and I hope it continues to make you think. Continue the continuum.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. It was
Bye,
lovely
everybody.
meeting everyone.
Don't you know